fiscally conservative about this. Secondly, I took the opportunity to look at what was negotiated and which I will affectionately refer to as a small privilege rump group. There were 469 individual points that needed to be considered in the budget. Of those, 238 were the House positions. 238 of those positions that were adopted out of 469 were the House positions. I would say to you, Mr. President, that I think there also, perhaps I have a misunderstanding, and let me say that the kill switch, it was my understanding that Arkansas got a waiver to include a kill switch. And CMS came back and told them that if you had the kill switch where there was a reduction in the federal reimbursement and you wanted to disenroll those enrollees in Medicaid expansion, that you had to give them 7 months advance notice. Number two, during that 7 months, you had to provide them with full benefits. And perhaps I'm mistaken, there was a 6-point CMS program that was given under that waiver, which included a right of appeal by every disenrolled individual. And that's what I got from CMS in Arkansas. That is the process-wise. But I think from a practical standpoint that the senator from Franklin touched on it earlier. Let me tell you, there was an epiphany down the hall in the House of Delegates this past November, for whatever reason each of you may want to attribute it to. They are not going to have the political will to disenroll 200 to 400,000 Virginians in an election year. It is not going to happen. They are not going to have the political will, and I don't know whether this body would have the political will. I am doubtful of that, and I've really had an internal intellectual debate. Is it more unkind to give people health insurance and take it away or not give it to them? And there are different opinions on that, and you can shake your head all you want. It is an honest question I have asked myself, and I get it. They're perhaps better getting it and taking it away. I understand that intellectually. I understand that intellectually on it. But one of the interesting things to me on more of a personal level, and some of you I can understand might be confused about why I am so resistant to this. In the years that I have been in the Senate, I have never been treated more disrespectfully by some of these advocate groups in any issue in my entire career. Any. And I respect people's right to advocate their issues in their First Amendment. Lying down in front of my law office with make-up tombstones on their body, asking people to blow and honk their horns as they go past my law office, which has about 40 people in it. And the verbal abuse that I took yesterday just walking from the Pocahontas building over was unbelievable. Unbelievable, the disrespect. And these advocates, I appreciate their passion, but do they really think that they are moving one vote by that misbehavior and the disrespect? Telling me that I'm not working? Really? Everybody in this body is working very hard, regardless of where you fall on the issue, and none of us deserve disrespect. But let me tell you my real issue here. I know that this will get some squinchy eyes and twinkling ears and furrowing of your brows. This is not a political issue with me at all. I understand the humanistic side of this, and I have said this in correspondence where I have personally written back to some of the Medicaid expansion advocates. I understand the humanistic side of it. What I don't understand is this, and here is my chagrin. Number one, and some of you will disagree with me, I think we got rolled by the House, number one. Number two, what really has frosted me is the degradation of the process. The degradation of the process. And you can make all of the excuses that you want by saying the process is broken. And this is so unique, so important, that we've got to cast aside the custom, usage, and tradition of the Senate. We circumvented in these bills, these substitutes that are now before you, we circumvented the subcommittee process. We circumvented the committee process. We circumvented the conference process. There's some discussion about the involvement of the Senate finance staff, and there's a varying disagreements. I know what I told them. I said, be receptive to any member's request for an amendment, but do not prepare a Senate budget without talking with me. The first I heard that the Senate finance staff was cut out was from the chairman of appropriations in the newspaper saying that they had been shut down. That is horribly disrespectful, horribly disrespectful. I ask you to look around. For those of you, my dear friend, Senator Saslaw, who has been here since 1699, how many budget processes have you been on this floor with where the Senate Finance Committee was not here having the Senate Finance staff having any input, any consultation whatsoever? Never. Never has that happened. That's rhetorical. That's a big word for I don't want you to answer. Okay. Absolutely horrible. Disrespectful to these professionals. And I've got to tell you, they deserve a thunderous applause and expression of appreciation for trying to walk a very fine line between the senator from Augusta and myself, and they have done it with dignity. They have been accessible to any of you, and they don't deserve the disrespect that they've gotten out of this process. It's even worse. It's even worse. How do you think they felt as professionals when a member of the House Appropriations staff said, we're preparing your budget? Talk about disrespect and a degradation of the process, but it's so important. We have to make this an exception. It is so unique. I would further say to you that I realized that some of this was submitted a week ago. Interestingly enough, when the amendments were sent out last week, somebody forgot to send them to the Senate finance staff. Do you know where they got it? They read about it in a local newspaper that I never read and saw the article and went to the House Appropriations website to download the amendments because nobody had the courtesy of sharing them with the Senate finance staff. And that is not something we ought to be proud of. They got them belatedly. They got them belatedly. I would further say that yesterday probably was one of the most egregious situations that I saw, and in my mind I've tried to discount it in what I refer to as panic. Sometimes I get a little feisty, and recently I've said a couple of inappropriate things, which I apologize for. I don't panic. I don't panic. And yesterday in Senate Finance Committee, I want you, for those of you who weren't there, I want you to go back on this. I want you to go back. The first vote that was taken was, in essence, a rejection of a package of amendments that the senator from Augusta had, and they were in amendment form at that time. And then we moved to the package of amendments that I offered. and they were adopted and reported by a majority of the Senate Finance Committee. I probably don't know the rules of the Senate as well as most of you, but I know them pretty well. And so I made a motion that was appropriate in Senate Finance Committee to reconsider the vote by which we did not report the senator from Augusta's budget amendments. Mass chaos. Everybody starts seeing shadows behind the trees, and Norment's trying to do something tricky here on it because you don't understand the rules. And somebody panicked, and the next thing I know, the committee rises. While there, put it in this context, there had been a motion approved by the committee to reconsider that vote, and the committee was adjourned while that motion was pending. Not good protocol. Not good protocol. And don't tell me what we are doing is so unique and so important that we are going to do a degradation to this entire process, to our Senate finance staff, and even the committee operations. That is not something we ought to be proud of. And I am not proud of it. And it has been a total abdication and deviation and degradation to the custom, usage, and tradition of the Senate. Then we come in here today, and my friends on this side, for the first time that I can remember, vote in favor of calling the question to cut off the debate. Habitually, you all are the ones that vote against it. Yeah. I didn't, Senator Saslaw, I'm not getting to run in debate with it. We on this side have used it. You all habitually vote against it, but it's so important today to get to where we wanted to go that you want to cut off the debate and you vote for it. That is aberrant behavior, historically speaking, on what's gone on in this body. And I suggest to you one thing that I have learned, whether it's in situations like this or in political campaigns. I think those of us that have been around for a few years have seen a conspicuous decline in the civility of campaigns. And I am a firm believer, and no one has proved to the contrary to my satisfaction, every time you lower the bar in civility of a campaign, you never raise it back up. Never, ever. It becomes the new norm. My concern is this, that as we've gone through the degradation process in the custom, usage, and tradition of the Senate that I just articulated with you, that may become the new norm here. And I say to you, Mr. President, I challenge all 40 of us, to make sure that is not the new norm. This has not been our proudest moment in a process. And my irritation is not with those who disagree with me on the issue. My disagreement and my chagrin is with the process.
What purpose is the senator from Northern Fairfax? Senator Hal Rise.